See what I mean?
Perfect.
No shadow over my eyes, really?
No, it just looks like your hat's like not on your head.
That's how the wearing it works.
Oh.
I was trying to show off the logo.
I like how he tapped it twice.
Full retard.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Self-Defense Saturday. This is our second episode since we started this. My name's Tyler.
And I'm Chris. And today, we've got a different story for you guys coming out of Texas.
Yeah.
It's where a homeowner shoots and kills an intruder when he breaks in while the man is sleeping. Kind of your typical self-defense story. So I'm going to go ahead and read the story for you guys so we get the gist of it. A man was shot and killed by a homeowner after police say he broke into a man's house. According to the Houston Police Department, the incident happened about 1 a.m. Thursday morning in the 2200 block of Naomi Street in southwest Houston. Police say the homeowner was asleep on the second floor of the house when he heard glass break. The intruder entered the home and then made his way up the stairs. When the intruder saw him and the homeowner discharged his weapon, according to the HDP, the homeowner shot the intruder in the neck. After being shot, police say the intruder ran out the same way he came in, then knocked on nearby doors, letting neighbors know he was shot. The police department says the man later collapsed a few hours later away and was pronounced dead at the scene. Other neighbors say they witnessed the intruder knocking on other houses in the area before the shooting happened. Some neighbors said, "I have a newborn son. That is all I thought about was him. His mother, I don't have a weapon in this household. I was at a disadvantage." The man says he saw the intruder through his door peephole when he didn't open the door. The intruder keyed his car before breaking into the home next door. Police did not say if the intruder was armed during the break-in. The homeowner has not been identified and is fully cooperating with investigations with the Houston Police Department and is not expected to face any charges.
So I have a couple things right off the top. So was this person right here, was this before or after this individual was shot? Well, yeah, it was before because he wouldn't have had time to key the car. But the police should have already been here. You know, I don't know if this individual had contacted the police, but obviously not. And if he had time enough to go to another person's house and break in. But it is kind of scary. And he said it himself, you know, luckily it wasn't his house. You know, there's a lot of people out there who don't have a firearm or something in the house to you know, make things equal all the way around. You're being taken by surprise. So the best thing that you can do when you're woken up half asleep in the middle of the night is at least have something that makes you a threat.
Yeah.
Know?
So he makes a very good point where the police probably should have been going on his way. The neighbor didn't do what he should have done when he's seen somebody at his front door knocking that he didn't see and then seen him keying his car through the peephole. I don't care if I have a gun or not, or if I don't want to be involved. If I see somebody keying my car, I'm going to call the police and stay inside if I don't have a firearm.
Absolutely.
But the fact that, you know, he went over, knocked on somebody's door, keyed the car, and then still had enough time to break into a house, get shot, knock on a few doors before the police ever arrived is either lacking on the neighbors in the neighborhood or the police department. We don't have enough information to determine which one was the slowest on this, but either way, somebody was not doing what they should have been doing.
Absolutely. And for the individual whose house was broken into, I believe that was an absolutely understandable reaction. This happened at 1 o'clock in the morning. Most people are asleep at 1 o'clock in the morning. I said it in our previous video. If you show up at an untimely hour to my house, I'm taking it as an automatic threat.
Absolutely.
No good business is done at 1 o'clock in the morning. You know?
Your parents are kind of right on the fact whenever they tell you nothing good happens after midnight. These
Absolutely.
are instances like that. And off of what you said with the homeowner being within his rights, Texas is one of those states that has the castle doctrine. So in those states that have the castle doctrine, the moment somebody enters your home, you are allowed to use deadly force because they are trespassing upon your castle, upon your privacy, and upon your domain.
Yeah. And another thing I picked up too, it says this individual went upstairs. So the homeowner was cornered in a way. You know, you can't run outside from upstairs. You can't retreat from upstairs. The reaction, I believe, was justified. I probably would have done the same thing. And I think the biggest part of this story is the lack of action prior. Like I said, if you can look through the peephole and you can see somebody outside your house, first off, how did you let that go by unchecked? somebody keys your car and you're just going to wait and not say something, it's obviously somebody up to no good or has a malicious intent, and you're letting them walk around your neighborhood. This individual says himself that he was at a disadvantage. He didn't have a firearm in the house. The first thing that he thought about was his son. A lot of things that we do here at GWB Tactical, we think about everybody's kids. We think about the people who don't have guns, who have kids, who could use that tool to protect themselves. Luckily in this instance, this person wasn't the target, and he got away lucky. But at the same time too, I do kind of feel like this person is kind of responsible in a way for letting it get too far. If you see something, say something. That's, to me, that's kind of mind blowing to me, especially when you come from a small town, tight neighborhood. Everybody kind of looks out for each other. This would not happen where we're at, I would like to think.
I would love to believe that everybody in my neighborhood would do that kind of thing where they see somebody wandering around. I know my neighbors have called me at 1 o'clock in the morning, whether I'm sleeping or not, saying, hey, did you see that guy walking around? It has happened, so I feel safer that way. But it does seem like this neighbor learned a valuable lesson today, probably maybe I should have called him a little bit sooner, but also seeing that not having a weapon in the household showed that he has a weakness, and hopefully he understands why having a firearm in the household can be such a wonderful thing and such a peace giver.
Absolutely. Like I said, luckily this person wasn't the target, but at the same time too, I do feel like he was kind of accountable. To the person who was in their house, as far as that case goes, I believe that person was absolutely within his rights.
Yep.
You ran me upstairs, It does say in the story that the homeowner, heard the glass break. We don't know the time period. He could have heard the glass break and then he immediately went up the stairs. If there was a larger amount of time between that, then that individual could have called the police and had it taken care of another way. But
most times when somebody breaks into your house, they're not just wandering around aimlessly. They're looking for stuff and they're trying to get in and out. So I imagine that it was a pretty short time frame. And also, some people might look at this and say, well, if the intruder wasn't armed, or if they don't know if he was armed, why did he shoot him? Well, along with that castle doctrine, you have the right to do so if somebody breaks into your home. Besides that point, I'm not going to wait to see if somebody has
absolutely.
a weapon, especially if it's dark. They might have it tucked behind them and they put their hands up, and the moment you put that barrel down, you put your firearm away, whatever the case is, or you just try to hold them, and you look away, they might pull it out and shoot you. If I have the castle doctrine backing me, and I feel threatened inside of my own home, I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to wait.
Yeah, absolutely. If I don't have the castle doctrine backing me, I'm still going to do whatever I have to do for my family and myself. And that's one of the things that we advocate also, guys, when it comes to legislation and laws regarding it. We try to bring that to you, or bring light to those things right there, because like I said right there, this person was protected by a castle doctrine in his state, but there's a lot of people out there who are in these same situations who don't have that comfort or that protection by certain laws. And I think that's kind of a bad thing, because this person may have been justified morally, but in the judiciary system, he might not have been, and luckily in this case, it kind of says that they're not expecting any charges to be done, and it's probably because of that legislation that was set in place.
Yeah, and that's another reason why you've heard all of us say, always look up your local listings and laws, because you want to make sure that when, and hopefully never, these instances do happen, you know what your rights are, and you try to do everything that you can to make sure that you're within the boundaries of those laws, because after these instances, like we've said in our very first self-defense video, and like we have in our home defense videos, there is a lot that happens afterwards, and there's a lot of things you may not think of. So always make sure what your laws are, and always make sure you try your best. And it's not easy, but try your best to stay within those laws.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest points that we can pull from this video, or from this story right here, is look out for one another. Your neighbor might be pissed that you called him at 2 o'clock in the morning, but at least he's alive to answer a call at 2 o'clock in the morning. If somebody's upset because you're trying to look out for them, hey, whatever. But at least you did your part.
Yeah,
I think this individual definitely learned that. Thank God it wasn't him. Thank God the person whose house was broken into was protected. I don't know if he had much of a family or anything like that, but either way. And I don't want people to run around thinking that it's over, possessions. Possessions can be replaced, and I know a lot of people make that argument that, somebody's life isn't worth possessions. I mean, that's absolutely true. If somebody's carjacking you and they're not armed, then yeah, let them take the car. But if you run me into a corner, I'm going to cut out of that corner. It's just, and that's a human being or a tiger or a mouse. You put anything into a corner, and they have to protect themselves. Unfortunately, this individual learned that the hard way.
All right, guys, thank you again for joining us for Self-Defense Saturdays. This is our second installment. We really hope that you enjoyed this story that we brought to you. We want you to go ahead and smash that like button if you like these stories that we bring to you. Share these videos with people who you think will enjoy hearing that the right to self-defense and the Second Amendment is still alive and well. Subscribe to our channel to make sure you don't miss any of our content. And also, down in the description, we will have a link to the website that we are using for all of these stories so you guys can read up on all of them. You can see how many instances are still happening day to day. The website is Firearms Owners Against Crime. We will have that link in the description below.
All right, guys, we do also have a link tree down there that you can go and find us on all other platforms that we're on, all of our other social media. And always remember, guys,
Who's got your six?
All right, guys, you know how we wrap these things up.
Do you?
I guess I don't, because that's not how we do that. All right.
Listen, that takes some getting used to too. Sitting on that fucking end of it. I'm not gonna lie.
And just sitting there.
Yeah.
Just listen and watch.
You don't
It's
fidget.
fun.
You don't breathe. You're doing good so far.
Listen, man, I was just staring at